The scriptures say, where there is no vision, the people perish.
Shalom, Israel. This is Bishop Nathaniel. I want you to know that you can view all our Sabbath classes live on IUIC TV. That's right, I said on IUIC TV.
Do you know your history?
I'm going to show you and prove to you that the Israelites are black, were always black.
Dance for time, just move up your body. Don't get loose and groove on the body. Bruise, whine.
Put on the armor, the procedure complete. Me nah go back, nah retreat. All traitors, every Jezebel must get delete. Me no sleep on a demon, me keep a full clip. Conspire me downfall, cause them want see me slip. Stay close to the real ones, we seal off and legit. Cause I gotta use them to keep your soul from the pit. This a war life, I swear the damn.
Right, so Moses was with the elders of Israel, commanding the Israelites to keep the commandments. Okay, now let's get the downside, see if they don't keep the commandments, all right? 28:15.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe, to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
So Moses was telling the Israelites, if you don't keep God's commandments, curses are going to come upon you and overtake you. Let me ask you, are curses a good thing or a bad thing? If I cuss you out, is that a good thing? That's a bad thing, right? You probably want to fight me, right? So God was speaking through Moses. If they break my commandments, curses are going to come upon you and overtake you. Read verse 16.
Verse 16. Cursed shalt thou be in the city.
So God says you'll be cursed in the city. Let me ask you, do you think we're cursed in the city today? Think about the black and Hispanic community. Everywhere you go can go to New York, you can go to LA, here. Where do you always find black and Hispanic?
Check it out.
Which is called what? The hood, the ghettos. Why are we always in the hoods and ghettos? But when you go to some place like Windermere, right, it's the opposite. Right. So it's white people, they always live in good. How can we always get the worst end of the stick?
Cursed shalt thou be in the city, and cursed shalt thou be in the field.
So you're going to be cursed in the city, and you're going to be cursed in the field, right? Now when you look at our history, were we not cursed in the field?
Check it out.
During the time of slavery, right? In fact, think about our brothers today, the so-called Mexicans, which is from the tribe of Issachar in the Bible.
Right.
What are they still doing today? They're still doing hard labor, all that construction, always in the field picking strawberries. They're still suffering cursed in the field. All the curses are still continuing. All right. Let's get a verse 40. More of all these curses.
Verse 45. Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, and overtake thee, till thou be destroyed.
So have you heard of generational curses? We always say that. I'm going to break. You never heard generational curses? Generational curses are in the Bible. All these curses are going to pursue us and overtake us until we're destroyed. Not physically, but mentally. Now we think we're a dog of God, right. which means Dominican, right? That's how we're destroyed mentally. Read it.
Because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy God.
All because we didn't listen to the voice of the Lord thy God. What is the voice of the Lord thy God? Hold that. Psalms chapter 103 and verse 20. Because we have to understand, does God just come down and talk to me? Oh, I got an understanding from God. No, the voice of the Lord is the Bible. We have to seek out of the book of the Lord and read. That's how we get the understanding of who we are. That's how I'm breaking down to you that you're from the tribe of Simeon. All right? Read Psalms 103 and 20.
103?
103.
Oh, my bad.
Psalms chapter 103, verse 20. Okay, read.
Psalms chapter 103, verse 20. Blessed be the Lord, yea, his angels that excel in strength, that do his commandments, hearkening unto the voice of his word.
So the voice of the Lord is his word, is the Bible. That's how we get the understanding of who we are and what we're supposed to do. Okay? Now let's get key curses. Get verse 47. Get verse 47. I'm going to show you two main scriptures that prove who we really are, and that is only about us. and I'm going to give you the solution on how to get out of this condition. Because going to Sunday church, that's not the solution. Going to Catholic church, that's not the solution.
Right.
Going to Methodist, not the solution. This truth, this Bible is the solution. All right, read.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 47. Because thou servest not the Lord thy God with joyfulness and with gladness of heart.
So because we didn't keep God's Sabbath days, we didn't keep his feast days with joyfulness and gladness of heart, right? Because we didn't keep his commandments like he commanded us to, read.
For the abundance of all things.
Because God gave us everything. When we were in the wilderness, he took care of us. But guess what? We're complaining people. All we do is complain. Right? Read.
Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies.
So God says because we didn't serve him with gladness, we're going to serve our enemies. Did you know that the black and Hispanic men have enemies?
Right.
You knew that? Who do you think the enemies are?
Check it out.
You're not sure? Say it. Or I'm going to say it for you. But I want you to say it. I know you know. Nehemiah 5:9. Nehemiah 5:9. I'm going to show you who the enemies are. It's everybody outside of this 12 tribes chart.
Right.
So your enemy is a so-called European man. Your enemy is a so-called Chinese man, Asian man, Arab man, because they all had a part in our slavery and they did absolutely nothing about it.
Right.
Are those your friends or your enemies? Your enemies. Don't be ashamed, bro. They do all this evil to us, and now we're docile. Now we're quiet about it.
Right.
Let's see who God says our enemies are. Read.
Nehemiah chapter 5 verse 9. Also I said, it is not good that ye do. Ought ye not to walk in the fear of our God because of the reproach of the heathen?
Of the heathen, the heathens are any nation outside of this sign.
Right.
So you don't see an Asian man, a Chinese man, a Caucasian man, right? So those are heathens if they're not on this sign. Read.
Right. Of the heathen, our enemies.
Our what?
Our enemies.
So God was telling the Israelites, yes, you have enemies. All right, so yes, bro, you have enemies, all right? Go back to Deuteronomy 28. So let's see what these enemies did to us. And they still do, okay? Because this is the truth of the Bible. You're not going to hear this in the Christian church. You're not going to hear this in the Catholic church. This is the truth of the Bible. Read.
Deuteronomy chapter 28 verse 48. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies.
So we're going to serve our enemies. Who are our enemies again? I want you to say this time. Come on. Don't be ashamed, bro. We're brothers. We're supposed to build, you know what I'm saying? So who are your enemies? I know you know. The people that aren't on the sign. The white man, the Chinese man, Arab man. Don't be ashamed, bro. They did all this evil to us.
Right.
We have to expose the man of sin, the man of evil.
That's right.
All right, in these last days. Read.
Which the Lord shall send against thee.
So God said he was going to send our enemies against us. Read.
And hunger.
In hunger. So I'm sure you out here, you probably about to, I don't know, go to one of the stores, probably heading home. Let's just say you're going to Walmart, right? Do any of our people own Walmart? No, right? In hunger, KFC, anything, right? Read.
And in thirst.
And in thirst. Aquafina, Coca-Cola. None of our people own none of that stuff, right? Right, read.
And in nakedness.
And in nakedness. Do any of our people own clothing lines? Okay, let's just say even if we do, right? Like we got Jay-Z and P. Diddy. They have clothing lines, but the textiles, where they get their material from.
Right.
If you look in the back of your shirt, guaranteed it says made in China, made in Italy, I don't know, made in Dubai, I don't know. But we don't make the textiles.
Right.
We don't find the fabrics. The other nations do. All right? So in clothing, read.
And in what of all things?
So God says he's going to send our enemies against us, and we're going to need our enemies for one of a birth certificate, diploma, or a college degree. Even to die, you got to go to your enemy.
Right.
Bro, I'm dead. Why don't I need my enemies still?
Bring it out.
But God was that mad with us. He said, I'm going to send you to your enemies for absolutely everything since you didn't want to serve. That's the God of the Bible.
Right.
All right? It's not a white man with stringy hair. All right? Read that.
And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck.
Ooh, the enemies did what to us?
And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck.
Now, when you look at the so-called black and Hispanic history, what race of people did that to us? White people?
Bring it out.
Exactly. That's how you know we are the Israelites of the Bible. All right? Yeah, bro, that's our flag, but you can back up. You can back up. All right? Just listen, all right? Just listen. Just listen. So, the so-called white man today, Jay, pay attention, bro. Pay attention, all right? The so-called, look at this sign. I want you to look at this sign.
How you doing, sis, man?
Read this again. Read it again.
I get all the way out.
Okay.
Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck, until he have destroyed thee.
Until he have destroyed thee. Who did this happen to? Did this happen to the Chinese man? Did this happen to the Arab man? This happened to your people, right? This happened to the so-called Dominicans, right? This happened to the so-called black man. Why is our history in the Bible? Because we're the people of the Bible.
The scriptures say, where there is no vision, the people perish.
Shalom, Israel. This is Bishop Nathaniel. I want you to know that you can view all our Sabbath classes live on IUIC TV. That's right, I said on IUIC TV.
Do you know history?
I'm going to show you and prove to you that the Israelites are black, were always black.
Dance floor time, just move up your body. Don't get loose and groove on the body. Bruise, wine.
Put on the armor, the procedure complete. Me nah go back, nah retreat. All traitors, every Jezebel must get delete. Me no sleep on a demon, me keep a full clip. Conspire me downfall, cause them want to me slave. Stay close to the real ones, we seal off and legit. Cause I gotta use them to keep your soul from the pit. This a war life, I swear to
Yeah, verse 68. I'm going to show you how our means of transportation and how we got to the shores of America. All right, read.
Verse 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again.
So the Lord just took us right out of Egypt. Why is he saying he's going to bring us back into Egypt? First, we have to understand what Egypt means. All right, get Exodus 20. We have to understand what Egypt means. All right, Exodus 20 and 2. Read.
Exodus chapter 20, verse 2. I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt.
So the Most High God was making a note. I brought you out of Egypt. Let's see what it means. Man.
Out of the house of bondage.
Out of the house of bondage. Out of the house of slavery,
right.
Captivity. Because if I'm holding you bondage, I'm holding you captive. You can't go nowhere. It's the same thing here. We can't go nowhere outside of America and establish our own country. Right? Read. Read that again.
And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again.
So Moses was warning the Israelites. He said, the Lord's going to bring you into Egypt, or what is it called? Egypt means what? Bondage. Slavery. So God says he's going to bring you into Egypt, or slavery, bondage. Again.
With ships.
With ships. That's very crucial. Read.
By the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again.
So the same way I'm telling you is the same way it's going to happen, right? Now I'm going to prove to you it's not the actual landmass of Egypt. Hold that, Isaiah chapter 30 verse 1. Different Egypt, a different land. All right, read.
Isaiah chapter 30 verse 1. Woe to the rebellious children, saith the Lord, that take counsel, but not of me, that cover with the covering, but not of my spirit, that they may add sin to sin, that walk to go down into Egypt.
So back then, you can walk to and fro into Egypt. That proves that's not talking about the physical landmass Egypt over there, okay? Go back to Deuteronomy 28:68. It's making sense to you so far? All right, so this Egypt was by means of transportation of slave ships, okay? Read.
Deuteronomy 28 verse 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships.
What's going on, my brother? Right now we're going over slavery in the Bible, okay? Slavery, the so-called blacks and Hispanic slavery was in the Bible. It was documented in the Bible, all right? Where do you see yourself on this side? I got you, bro. One second. Where do you see yourself on this side? You don't know? American black, right? So they call us American black, right? But according to God, you're from the tribe of Judah. According to the Bible, you're from the tribe of Judah, because the so-called African American went into slavery, and that right now that's what we're going over.
Right.
All right. Your hat says, I didn't choose to be black. Funny thing is, God didn't call you black.
Right.
He calls you Judah.
Right.
Meaning his praise.
Bring it out.
The praise of the Most High.
That's right.
You see what I'm saying? Now, right now, we're going over curses to prove you're an Israelite from the tribe of Judah, and your brother here is an Israelite from the tribe of Simeon.
That's right.
We're brothers, but they
Right.
just divided us. You see what I'm saying? We're the same people. Okay, read that. Read that.
Deuteronomy 28, verse 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again.
So God says he was going to bring the Israelites into Egypt again, or slavery, because when you read Exodus 22, Egypt is synonymous for bondage.
Right.
So every time you hear Egypt, it's referring to captivity or slavery. So God says he was going to bring the Israelites into Egypt or slavery again. Read.
With ships.
With ships. My brother, I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name. Willie, I'm Yuri. Nice to meet you, Willie. All right? Dab me up, Willie. You know what I'm saying? So, Willie, my question to you is, how do we get to the lands of America?
Check it out.
Historically speaking.
First of all, we gotta start killing each other.
Absolutely. That's why we're in captivity.
Right.
But my question to you is, how do we get here? What means of transportation?
Oh, there's slave ships to say?
Slave ships. Now the thing is, did you know that was in the Bible? That was prophesied. Moses prophesied that over 2,000 years ago.
Yeah.
Yep. Did you know that? We're gonna read it. Read that again.
And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again.
Egypt again, or slavery again, because Moses just took us out of Egypt or out of slavery. The Lord said he was prophesying he was going to bring us back into Egypt again. Read.
With ships.
With ships.
By the way whereof I spake unto thee.
So just how I'm telling you, it's going to happen the same exact way. You already said it. We got here to the shores of America with slave ships. That was recorded in the Bible.
Right.
This proves this isn't a white man's book.
Work it out.
This proves this book isn't for all nations. It's speaking to a specific group of people.
Right.
And that's us, the Israelites.
Right.
Because we're the only ones that suffer the curses of the Bible.
That's right.
Of Deuteronomy 28. Who else went into slavery on slave ships with yokes of iron on their neck? Because yes, it's true, other nations did go into slavery, but who suffered this specifically?
Wake them up.
Nobody else.
Right.
Give me that in, what is it, Daniel 9? Yep, Israel has not suffered, right? Because we only suffered these atrocities, no other nations, but the question is why? And once we get this, we're gonna get the solutions. What are the solutions and how we get God to acknowledge us again? Because believe it or not, God doesn't acknowledge us when we're in the midst of sin. When we're breaking his commandments, God isn't listening to us. We may think he is, but he's not. Read.
Daniel chapter 9, verse 11. Yea, all Israel hath transgressed thy law.
No, all nations.
All Israel hath transgressed thy law.
So everybody on this sign, the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, that's the Israelites. That's
Right.
the nation of Israel. Not the people in Israel today. They are imposters.
Right.
They're not suffering the curses of the Bible.
Right.
They have their own land, which is actually ours, but they stole it
Right.
in 1948 under the Balfour Declaration.
Right.
All right, read.
Even by departing, that they might not obey thy voice. Therefore, the curse is poured upon us.
The curse of yokes of iron on our neck, picking cotton, slave ships.
Right.
That's the curse. Is poured upon us. Living in the ghettos.
Right.
That's the curse poured upon us. Read.
And the oath that is written in the law of Moses.
That the oath that is written in the law of Moses. Willie, hang tight. We're about to go over the solution on how to get God to acknowledge us again. We have to get the commandments, because you're not going to learn this in the Christian church.
Right.
You're not going to learn this in the Baptist church.
Break it out.
Now the question is, okay, we've established we're under curses by God. Do you see that? Cursed in the city, cursed in the field, slave ships. Now the thing is, what's the solution? How do we get God to acknowledge us? Deuteronomy 10 and 12. All right? Because God requires something of us being Israelites. Can you agree with that? That you're not a dog of God. You're an Israelite. Because you and your people are undergoing the curses that are in the Bible.
That's right.
You can attest to that? That makes sense, right? Your family won the slave ships.
Right.
Your family picked the sugarcane fields.
Right.
Your family had the yokes of iron on their neck.
That's right.
Nobody else. Now that we understand that we have the basic understanding that You're an Israelite from the tribe of Simeon. What does God require of you? All right, read.
Deuteronomy chapter 10, verse 12. And now, Israel, what doth the Lord thy God require of thee?
Now, God says he's asking Israel, what is required of you, knowing that you're an Israelite? All right, read.
But to walk in all his ways, and to love him, and to serve the Lord thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul, to keep the...
Hold on. Read that again. Read that again.
To walk in all his ways, and to love him, and to serve the Lord thy God.
Now the question is, how do you love the Lord? How do you serve him? Is it going to the Christian church?
Right.
Is that how you serve the Lord?
Bring it out.
You don't know. It's okay if you don't know, because that's why we're out here. I'm going to show you. All right, read.
To keep the commandments of the Lord.
To keep the commandments of the Lord. That's how you love the Lord. That's how you serve him. That's how you show you acknowledge the Most High, and that you're trying to repent of the errors of your ways. But the question is, what is the errors of your ways? We're about to find out.
Bring it out.
I'm going to have the next teacher come up and show you easy commandments you can keep to love the Lord, because you believe in God, right? You love God, right? Now the question is, how do you properly love the Lord according to the scriptures? Okay?
Nation is men leading by example. Nation is family. Nation is community. Nation is children with role models. Nation is unity. Nation is you.
And finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord. His word, his word, his word, his word.
So it is you must always have your mind thinking forwardly. That's why the scripture saying what it's saying. Read it again, Captain. Where there is no vision. If you don't have the vision to think beyond where you are, the people perish. You will perish. You understand? So we must